Hello, my name's Bev and I'm the author of the book Please Eat, A Mother's Struggle to Free Her Teenage Son from Anorexia, which describes our family's battle with the deadly eating disorder, anorexia nervosa, which my teenage son Ben developed back in 2009. Welcome to chapter 18, which is called The Roof. The demon is raging. I hate myself, it spits at me. Everyone hates me. I'm so fat and ugly, it's disgusting. You're making me fat. Cams is making me fat. Everyone is making me fat. You just want to keep force-feeding me until I explode. You're torturing me. My life is hell. I don't know why the F I'm alive. He wrenches himself free from the grip I have on his arm and flees up to his room, screaming. A couple of years later, when I'm in the process of writing this book, I challenge Ben about this. Tell me more about the rages, for example, when you became violent, like if I came into your room following an outburst, or when you just stood there staring blankly into space. I didn't want to talk, Ben says. I needed time on my own to think. When you saw me looking like a zombie, it was me trying to think, trying to come up with solutions and calm down. It was so hard to calm down when you're buzzing around and getting distressed. I just wanted to be left on my own. On the other hand, sometimes my thoughts would get really bad, deep, bad thoughts, and it probably wasn't such a bad thing you were there. Deep, bad thoughts, I say. Like the time I nearly climbed onto the roof. Suicidal thoughts, he says. Did you ever really plan to kill yourself, either on purpose or by accident, by doing something dangerous? I say. I dread his reply. I did think of suicide a lot, and yes, I admit I did want to kill myself. But I'm too frightened of pain, so I doubt I would have had the courage to do it. Phew, I relax a bit. I ask him to tell me more about the roof incident. If I hadn't rushed up to your room and seen your legs hanging from the skylight and pulled you back in, would you have climbed onto the roof? Probably not. I was too scared of the pain if I fell off. It's a long way to the ground. My mind flashes back to that night. By this stage, Ben has made suicidal threats on a number of occasions, and by now I've hidden all the medicines and anything else he might grab in a fit of desperation. But tonight he seems capable of anything. He seems superhuman, unnaturally so. Anything that remains of the real Ben has completely disappeared. I can tell the demon is hell-bent on destruction. With a mother's instinct, I charge up the 2 flights of stairs and into Ben's attic bedroom. I rush over to where he's climbing out, his torso already on the roof tiles, legs dangling from the skylight into the room as he tries to pull himself onto the roof. I grasp his legs and tug him back into the room until his feet touch the floor. I slam the window closed and place myself like a shield between it and Ben. I grab him, shaking like a leaf. Suddenly we're hugging each other, the tears streaming down our faces. What were you thinking of? I sob, hugging my beautiful son close, the real Ben. But, ping, suddenly he's gone and the zombie is back. His eyes go blank, his face is wiped of his expression, and he shrugs his shoulders. I haven't a clue, he says in a monotone, the voice of the demon. I mean, what were you planning to do? Get onto the roof, of course, says the slow, low, deep voice that makes my blood freeze. Why? He shrugs again, looking over my shoulder at nothing in particular. I can't even begin to describe the evening we have after that. I reach my lowest point as a parent. Hell? That would have seemed like a pleasant vacation. I never want to be that frightened again, I tell Sue. Later that night, I post an SOS on the Around the Dinner Table forum. What the heck are parents supposed to do in this situation? Everyone jokes about sending for the men in white coats, but in reality, what do you do when your child is so distressed they don't even care if they kill themselves? From Suffolk to the southern states of America, the mums rally round with support. What's just as distressing is how many of them have been through similar experiences, watching helplessly as their children inflict harm on themselves, or go AWOL for hours on end. One teenager disappeared into the snow in the middle of the night, dressed only in her bathrobe and slippers. Another gouged deep cuts across her stomach. I hear of worse accounts too. By early next morning, I have a string of supportive emails from across the globe. I want to physically hug everyone that cares enough about me to get in touch. At 3 a.m, when I can't sleep, I begin an urgent email to Sarah, which I want her to read before our 11 o'clock session. I write that this is a risk we can't ignore. Even if Ben doesn't intend to kill himself, he could easily do so unintentionally. I insist that we resume the weekly sessions instead of the current fortnightly arrangements. I tell her that last night put the fear of God into me. I firmly believe I nearly lost my son. The next day, Ben and I sit in the grim little room with Sarah, who thank goodness is taking it seriously. But unless Ben actually harms himself, there's little she can do except thoroughly check with him what his intentions were. Did he plan to kill himself, or was it just a cry for help? Might he have similar thoughts in the future? I dread him giving the wrong answer. Another afternoon I get a phone call from the mother of one of Ben's friends. "I hope you don't mind me calling," she says quickly, "but Tom's just had an email from Ben saying, 'Give me one good reason why I should carry on living.' I felt I should let you know in case, well..." Her words trail off. She doesn't know what to say. I don't know what to say either. Ben's been ill. He's not himself. I am so sorry. Ben is stony-faced when I tell him, not dissimilar to the way he was after the roof incident. Then, without warning, the demon kicks off. Ben goes crazy, bashing around the house like a maniac. He seems to have gone completely insane. I call Sue, but get her answering machine. My sister is out too, so I call Cams for help. Sarah is on leave, so I speak to the duty psychiatrist. She says there's nothing Cams can do, unless he actually inflicts harm on himself or others. She's very apologetic, but her hands are tied. "Can't I just bring him in so someone can calm him down?" I plead, explaining that I'm in the house alone with him. My husband is working away, and I'm terrified. But she abruptly informs me that Cams isn't a 24-hour emergency service. In desperation, I phone Paul, but Ben refuses to talk to him. To make matters worse, Paul starts to blame me. "Everything would be running smoothly if it wasn't for you," he says. "You and your cronies on that forum, what do you know? You're only parents. Everything you are doing goes against professional advice. Just let Cams get on with it. Look what happens when you try to do it your way." "You mean when I tried to get him to eat?" "I mean, what am I supposed to do? Just sit there and let Ben kill himself by hurling himself off the roof? Let him terrify his friends with suicidal emails? Let the anorexia destroy him without so much as a fight?" My gut instinct, ever since the day Ben and I struggled through his difficult birth, has been to fight. But now I'm seriously beginning to doubt myself. Is it really my fault that the demon erupts as much as it does? If I kept quiet, would it keep quiet too? Am I wrong to question things? Worse, could I actually be driving him to take his own life? All that nagging and buzzing around, all that pleading, all those tears. How could I live with that? Yet how could I live with taking a back seat while my son hurtles down the slippery slope to starvation? My natural instinct is to save his life by whatever means, Yet I have no idea what I should or should not be doing. I take refuge on my favourite footstool, nice and low down, making it easy to curl myself up into a ball, sobbing into the dwindling supply of tissues. I arrange an emergency appointment for Ben to see Sarah on her return from leave. He sits there refusing to speak. He's about to erupt, I can tell. A red flush spreads from his ears across his face. His body tenses. Suddenly he stands up, grabs the coffee table with both hands and hurls it across the room, missing Sarah by inches. Then he storms out. "Okay," Sarah says to me, retrieving the box of tissues from the corner of the room and placing the table back in position. "I want to talk about it. This is what his rages are like," I tell her desperately, as she pushes the box of tissues towards me. It all spills out, his moods, his threats, his rage, his violence. As Ben disappears to God only knows where on the hospital campus, I feel as if I'm the patient and Sarah is my therapist. She hands me another tissue as I sit there, head in hands. Should I go after him? I ask, feeling helpless. Sarah says she's sure he'll come back once he's calmed down. If he's not back in 5 minutes, I'll send someone out to look for him. Then she adds sympathetically, if he's lost weight at our scheduled session tomorrow, then we'll return to the eating plan. Also, if you feel it would help, we'll revert back to weekly sessions, and you can sit in on all of them. How does that sound? For the first time, I feel as if she's beginning to understand what is driving me, the sheer and utter dread of losing my one and only son to this illness. This, plus the need to be actively involved in his recovery. After all, I'm his parent. I'm with him all week, whereas Cams only see him for 60 all too brief minutes. We need to put every moment of the time I'm with him to positive and practical use. The door opens and Ben walks back into the room. He sits down. Sarah behaves as if nothing has happened, so I take my cue from her and hide my emotions. But at least Ben is talking. The next day we turn up for our usual CAM session. Ben takes Sarah to be weighed while I sit in the shabby waiting room. This time I'm hoping that Ben has lost weight so I can be given back control of his eating. Oh heck, he's put on weight. I can tell by the look of thunder on his face. So for the next week at least, Ben will remain in charge of his eating, not me. And, as is always the case when he gains weight, the entire valuable 60 minutes are hijacked by the need to pacify Ben and help him come to terms with it. This usually fails and he takes it out on me on the way home. Sarah reads my mind. I know you're worried about Ben's recent weight loss and I understand your anxiety, I really do. But to be honest, I'm not unduly concerned about the weight loss at this stage, and, she smiles encouragingly at Ben, he's done so well. He truly has. Ben shoots me one of those "see, I told you I'm fine" looks I'm so familiar with. Her aim, Sarah says, is to reduce the stress on Ben. She feels things moving a little too quickly for him, what with the recent weight gain and the stress of the eating plan. He's finding it hard to cope, and she doesn't want a relapse, especially with our family vacation coming up. The eating disorder is taking its toll on all of you, she adds. I think your holiday will be a great opportunity for you to take a break from it, to put the eating disorder on a back burner and have a normal, relaxing family vacation. And tell her she mustn't nag me, hisses the demon in an accusing voice. The demon always refers to me as she or her. I think it will be helpful to all of you if you avoid talking about the eating disorder, Sarah repeats. Just try to have a nice, normal, happy family holiday. Tell her she mustn't mention food or weight, the demon glares at me with its snake-like eyes. Make her agree. That's the end of chapter 18. Thank you for listening. If you move to the end of this video, you'll see a link to chapter 19, which is called At Sea. I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you for listening. It would also be really good if you could like this video, and you can subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button below. Oh, and don't forget to visit my blog. You'll find the link below. You'll also find a link to my website where you can download PDFs of my blog for free.